Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are back with a brand new and really quite incredible model. This is the 1/35th scale Carcharodontosaurus from Greenhouse Revolution Studios. I have taken a look at one of Greenhouse Revolution Studios models in the past. That was their Saurophaganax, and it was absolutely incredible. Probably one of the nicest dinosaur models I've ever had the pleasure of adding to my collection, and I now have my second Greenhouse Revolution Studios model here with this absolutely unreal Carcharodontosaurus. And you can see it looks super cool here with the overall visual we've got going on with the dinosaur. You can see how it's just kind of running along. The mouth is wide open, looking very ferocious as it's coming in, I guess, for a kill of some kind on something. I'm not entirely sure, but it looks great. On top of that, there are quite a few other things that you get with this model that you can see. First of all, the dinosaur, of course, is a kit, so it comes in a model kit form. You have to assemble it. I have assembled it. The only thing I haven't done yet is actually glue the head on, because the head is actually, there we go, connected with a magnet. Now, what's cool about this is you can see that we've got the very cool open mouth version here as far as that head goes. You also have this version, and you can see you could put this version on if you choose to. So you've got your choice between the very wide open mouth, very, ferocious looking version, but then you also have this much more kind of just like slightly open mouth, calmed down kind of version, which is really cool. But what's even cooler is then when you decide which head you want on the actual model, you also get this, and as you can see, this is just like a really cool little, almost like a plaque that you can take the other bust on, and it's connected with a magnet, and you put it in there, and then you can now have not only an incredible Carcharodontosaurus, of course in 1/35th scale, but a Carcharodontosaurus bust in 1/35th scale as well. So that was a really cool idea on the part of Greenhouse Revolution Studios, because I've seen numerous people in the past, numerous companies give you the option of two different heads, but then once you choose what head you want to put on your dinosaur, you're left with just a random head and nothing to do with it, whereas this time they've given you the opportunity to still use that head and display it, which I think is really nice. On top of that, there is also, let's get it out here, if I can, this. You have a really cool keychain featuring the skull of a Carcharodontosaurus, and that is absolutely awesome. It's definitely a very high quality, like a metal, and it's very, very well done, very heavy, and just overall really impressive when it comes to the quality as well as the actual sculpt of it. You can see the detailing within the skull is phenomenal for sure. Then you also, of course, have the entire dinosaur there with the base, but what's even cooler is you could actually take this little extra, and I guess if you choose to, you could maybe put it in the mouth of the dinosaur. Maybe that's why it's running in, or just lay it down on the ground like it's a previous kill. But basically, you've got the head of a Spinosaur here, and it's kind of ripped completely off of the body of, the dinosaur. So it's some sort of a kill that this Carcharodontosaurus has at some point completed, or just maybe a carcass laying nearby that other dinosaurs were eating, and now the Carcharodontosaurus has run in and chased them away. Again, you can basically create in your head whatever scene you would choose to, and on top of all of that, you also have this. So once you open this up, you can see it's a little envelope. You've got some fun stuff that falls out. First of all, here you can see a really, really nice looking, very high quality card that's a little bit dusty, but you can see the card shows off the model, and if you turn it around, you can see another image here on the back of a different version or a different position of the Carcharodontosaurus, and some information, of course, the fact that this is Greenhouse Revolution Studios, and a little information on the model itself. And then you also have some really cool cards included, like larger, almost postcard style cards here that are included. And you can see images of the model completely built and painted by Greenhouse Revolution Studios. An incredible looking coloration that they've chosen. Of course, you can see you also have the bust version if you choose to go with the mouth open on the bust. And then you can see some more images again, and the fact that it is absolutely incredible. I actually really quite like the colors that they gave to the that little plaque area of the bust right there. That's really neat. And then again, you have the closed mouth version with a different color scheme. So basically just giving you some ideas as far as what you could do with your dinosaur as far as colorations and stuff go. And then here on the back, you basically just have the Greenhouse Revolution Studios logo back there. So let's put the head back on the dinosaur first of all. But there we go. You can't see it snaps right in there. But again, an absolutely incredible set right out of the gate, but the only way to truly tell how incredible is with a closer look, so let's jump to it right now. So here we go with our Carcharodontosaurus. Again, it may be a little bit iffy to try to pick out all of the detail right now as it's unpainted, and the model is a pretty bright white coloration, but we'll do our best to figure it out. So as you can see, as you start up here on the top of the head, you know, you've got the nostrils sculpted out. You also have some beautiful detailing, like larger scales here as you get closer to the jawline, finer skin texture as you get closer, you know, up into the palate and stuff. You can see the eyes sculpted really quite nicely, and on top of that, one thing I really love about this model is the fact you have this really cool tear in the jaw, almost Jurassic World Dominion Giganotosaurus like actually, but again, something that you would probably see on dinosaurs would be things like that. You're going to find injuries, so I always love little added bits of realism and stuff like that. Obviously, this particular version of the head has the mouth wide open as the dinosaur is either coming in for a kill or just coming in to try to, you know, snap at something and scare it away. As you move down here into the lower jaw, you can see that as well. Looks really nice. You can also see the area where the lower jaw is kind of connected, so this is a separate piece that you have to glue on. And again, that meshes in really quite nicely, honestly, once you apply it, and then we'll of course cover all the seams and paint it and stuff here in a little bit. But you can see on the inside of the mouth, you've got the skin stretching really nicely, and you know, when you just look at the detailing of that area of the skin stretching, that's probably some of the nicest I've seen when it comes to that area, showing you that Greenhouse Revolution Studios really strives to give you the highest quality detail on the model. Then as you move down here, again, the scale detail and everything looks quite nice for the lower jaw. You've got the teeth sculpted out really, really nicely. You've got the tongue on the inside of the mouth. You can see the throat back there as well. And then as you come up here, you can get a really nice idea of what the detailing looks like on the inside of the mouth on the upper side. Again, the teeth are all sculpted nicely up there as well. As you move back, you've got some really nice skin wrinkling and creasing and stuff, especially because the dinosaur currently has its head turned toward its left. You can see a very obvious seam, and I would imagine I could probably clean that out so that that would be, you know, nice and flush, so I could swap out the heads if I choose to. But I'm going to go the route of choosing one head over the other, and then I'm going to just have one individual head on the dinosaur, so I'll be filling that seam here in a little bit when I get to that point. But as you lead up here to the top of the head, you can see a little bit kind of like rougher scaling, almost like a scoot-like appearance moving down along the spinal column. Very small line of ridges moving down as well. You have some more really nice looking skin detail as you lead down. Again, more wrinkling and creasing since the dinosaur has its head turned toward our left. Or its left, I should say. Moving down a little further, you can see the shoulder blade, but it's not protruding enough to look shrink-wrapped or anything. You've got the arm. Again, you can see the arm was connected right there, and it's already so nice, like as far as the way it's applied, you almost don't even notice the seam in the first place. But as you move down through the course of the arm, you can see it looks really nice. You've got the fingers sculpted. Again, the detailing of Greenhouse Revolution Studios models is absolutely unreal. And look at how good the nails look, how actually genuinely sharp they look, which is also awesome. If you look at the opposing arm there, you can see the palm of the hand and everything. And again, just every ounce of detail. Like, they capture everything on their models. No laziness when it comes to a Greenhouse Revolution Studios model, that's for sure. As you move back here into the stomach, again, you have all kinds of skin folds and wrinkles and stuff. As you move back, all sorts of really nice, very fine scale detail, which again may be a little hard to pick up right now, but I think you can kind of get a pretty good idea of it. You can also see the rib cage ever so slightly right there. It might be the most subtly sculpted rib cage I've ever seen. As you move back up here, you can again see the spinal column moving down along the back. You've got the hip bone right there. Some slight creasing and wrinkling in the skin right there. As you move down, the muscle definition of the thigh is definitely nicely sculpted and highlighted in a very realistic way. You move down further, you've got the knee right there. You can see a big bulging calf muscle. Again, the seam where the knee connects is almost like not even visible right out of the gate, which is crazy impressive as far as this figure goes. When you continue to move down, you can see how the toes are picking up off of the ground, and the dinosaur again looks to be moving with a pretty decent amount of speed, I would say, as it moves in. You've got the nails sculpted, nice scoots moving down the toes and everything. The nails also have a pretty genuine sharp look to them, I would say. As you move back up, again, some more creasing and wrinkling in the skin. You can obviously see where the tail was connected. That seems a little bit more obvious, but then you've got some more small, very, very small, kind of like scoots and ridges following along the spinal column as you lead out. You've got all kinds of really nice scale detail, and then of course a really nice curve to the tail as you lead out, kind of a nice, almost majestic looking curve to the tail. Moving along the underside, again, you have more really nice looking scale detail. You've got the cloaca right there on the underside, and again you can see the skin texture, I think, a little bit better here as you move into the stomach. It just gets a little bit larger, a little bit more obvious as you lead up. You can see even like the musculature of the chest. And then if we turn the dinosaur around and we take a look at the opposing side, again you can see we don't have that tear in the jaw over here, so this side hasn't been injured for our Carcharodontosaurus quite yet. But again, it's an exceptionally crisp and very impressive looking cast, and as you move back, you continue to see again even like tensing in the neck of the dinosaur, more wrinkling to the skin and everything down here, and a little bulkiness to the throat of the Carcharodontosaurus. Continuing to move back, even more tensing actually as we lead back here. You can see the arm is in a little bit of a different position over here compared to the other side. You can see it's just a little bit further forward, but again the muscle definition is sculpted nicely. The elbow is very obvious and present right there, and again the seam is very hard to even pick up on, I would say. As you move back into the stomach, again the skin detail looks really, really nice. You've got the leg kind of pushing into the stomach, scrunching that skin up. Again, you can see the rib cage and everything right there. As you move along, some more wrinkling and creasing as you lead down along the front of the thigh. Muscle definition again really nicely present in the leg, even some like creasing to the skin here in the knee. And then as you move down, you've got again a really nice foot sculpt. This foot sculpt is actually completely planted on the ground, even kind of you can see it like denting into the ground, which shows you again the massive weight of the dinosaur and also how hard it's running in, so that foot has just slammed down into the ground. But you can also see this little extra area, which is basically like the peg that holds it into the base. And then you lead up here again, you've got the tail as you lead out with that really nice curve like we saw just before, but from the opposite side now, obviously. So again, the Carcharodontosaurus is absolutely amazing, and I cannot wait to get some paintwork on this. Then you've got the base, and the base isn't really anything like super crazy. It's basically just a nice little earthy area, and that's really all it needs to be. It doesn't need anything else other than that. You can see it, everything, detail-wise looks really good. Definitely has a nice, realistic, earthy look and texture to it, and it's definitely going to be fun to paint as well. But on top of that, you also have that Spinosaur head here, which you can see again is equally as impressive in its sculpt as the Carcharodontosaurus is. You have all the same very impressive high quality detail on this. I like that you have like larger kind of clusters of scales moving up along the back of the head, and then finer scaling as you move down here into the side. Again, wrinkling of the skin and everything down in the throat, and you can also see over here, you can get a good look at it. You've got the eye area sculpted nicely, that Spinosaurus crest up there on the top of the head, the teeth and everything sculpted nicely. The dinosaur is obviously, again, deceased with its mouth wide open, and then as you move down here, you can see that you've got like the spinal column sticking out and everything. That'll be pretty fun to paint up and everything once we get to that point, but that's just a really cool extra to this. And then of course we also have the bust. Now this is basically, again, the alternate head you could use for the dinosaur, for the model itself, and it's basically the same thing we had just seen a moment ago, except for the fact that the mouth is now, much more closed compared to the other one that has a much more wide open mouth. We have the same tear in the jaw and everything on this one, just like we did with the first version, and the actual like plaque you attach it to is basically just very smooth, nothing really too crazy going on as far as that goes. And the final piece of the puzzle would just be that keychain, and you can now get a good look at the keychain and see how high quality that is as well. Again, really, really impressively well sculpted. Like the detail on that is absolutely phenomenal. Just continuing to show you that Greenhouse Revolution Studios is one of the leading dinosaur model producers, I would say, when it comes to the highest of quality detail. Like, very few people or companies can compete with them when it comes to how good their detail is. So we're now at the point where I want to get this all painted up, and we'll check it out from there. So here is my painted up and finished version of the incredible Carcharodontosaurus, and man, does this thing ever look so nice once it's actually painted up. The sculpt is just so beautiful, and the paint honestly just like practically paints itself. And I love the additions of these, like, you know, rips and tears in the jaw and everything. I think that's just such a nice touch. Again, a nice element of realism. I was a big fan of that when they did it in Jurassic World Dominion with the Giganotosaurus and stuff, and definitely a fan seeing it here on this Carcharodontosaurus. You can see the mouth being open is such an intimidating view. Definitely not something that I would want to encounter, would be this Carcharodontosaurus in a bad mood. And you can see again what it looks like on the opposing side. It's a little hard to actually get a good shot from this side of the face because, let me see if I can move this back a little bit, because the tail and everything is so long, it's just hard to really get, again, that good shot. But the entire thing just looks absolutely incredible once it's actually built and painted and everything. And my coloration, normally, you know, I've been just basically winging it, but this time I kind of came up with an idea as far as how I wanted to paint it, and then just went with it. I kind of used a frog as inspiration, a bullfrog, and went from there. Obviously, I had to compensate for it being a dinosaur, so it's not exactly what you would see as far as the coloration goes on a bullfrog, but that's kind of where the coloration and the tones and everything and my idea for the color scheme came from, and I'm really happy actually with the way it turned out. I think it looks really cool. Again, definitely flashy enough, but still naturalistic enough, and overall something I'm very happy with. Again, especially with how nice that sculpt is. You just can't be anything but ecstatic about how nice it looks once it's finished. But of course, you'll have to let me know in the comment section what you guys think of it and whether you think it turned out pretty good or not. Then we also, of course, had that Spinosaurus head, and it's again that severed Spinosaurus head, which I guess would be whatever this dinosaur is currently feasting on. And this one I was also pretty happy with the way it turned out. I think it looks pretty cool. And since it is a severed head, I tried to make it kind of have like a wide-eyed sort of a look, like it was clearly shocked as it was dying. The eyes aren't closed on my version, which maybe the fact that the eyes are open is kind of a little bit more morbid, I don't know, but it just felt like it would be a pretty cool way to paint it up. And again, the sculpt of this as well is absolutely incredible. Like, easily one of the nicest looking heads of a Spinosaur that I've ever seen. My camera just doesn't want to focus on the inside of the mouth. It's driving me absolutely insane. But it is really nicely done when it comes to the detail. And then, of course, as you move down here, you can see that it's all torn up. And then, of course, it gets super gory once you turn it around and you take a look at the back of the neck and the fact that, again, it's just completely torn off of the body. Definitely a really cool extra part to add to this scene, but again, it is super nicely done when it comes to the detailing. The sculpt of this is absolutely incredible as well. We've also got the base, and I didn't do much of anything as far as flashiness goes for the base, just basically applied some variation of color, a little bit of green, kind of giving it somewhat of, you know, kind of like a mossy look, a slightly mossy look, and then a dark wash and everything. And pretty happy with the way that turned out as well. Definitely, again, nothing overly incredible, but definitely a nice addition to this model. And on top of all of that, we also have the bust version, which I finished as well. And you can see the bust version I gave a very different color scheme to. Definitely a totally different look on this one compared to the, you know, more full-bodied model version. And this one I kind of tried to give more of like almost a female sort of color scheme to it. And I was pretty happy with the way this turned out as well. Obviously, it shares the same sort of sculpting as far as like the injuries and stuff go to what we saw on the, what I would, again, as far as I'm concerned in the way I painted them, the male version, the more full-bodied version. But you can see I went for a very different look as far as the colors go on this one. But again, it is absolutely gorgeous, and the fact that you get this bust version with the model again is just super cool. You can see the tear in the gums and everything, and honestly, a full body version in this color scheme I feel like would have looked pretty nice as well. And then again, you have the actual base for the bust, which I gave a pretty cool bluish tone to, something I was kind of debating what color to go with, and I was going to go for like just a black because that's usually what I go with, but I felt like this time we'd do something a little different, and I'm pretty happy actually with the color of that. But the bust version as well is just as awesome as everything else. And there we go. There is everything now displayed and again looking awesome. And just having the bust version next to the model version also looks really cool. It's neat to be able to display what a male and a female could possibly look like even without having two full-bodied versions of the dinosaur. As far as the model goes, though, I don't think we really need to measure the bust. For a length, you were looking at about 14 3/4 inches or around 37.5 centimeters. And then for a height, the highest point would be the tail. You're looking at just shy of 6 1/4 inches or a hair under 16 centimeters for a size comparison. So there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, Robert Muldoon, and the Collect A Human Being next to our Carcharodontosaurus from Greenhouse Revolution Studios. And you can see it is really quite sizable. Definitely a very nice, very impressive sized model as a whole. For another comparison, there is the Safari Ltd Eutyrannus and Schleich Diabloceratops next to the Carcharodontosaurus, and that Eutyrannus is about to meet its demise. We've also got a Mattel Velociraptor and Dilophosaurus for another comparison. We also have the Rene Dussuit version of the Carcharodontosaurus, one that I have reviewed in the past, and one that at the time I was pretty happy with the coloration and paint apps I gave it, but I think I might need to retouch that one up a little bit and just change it up a little bit and change the colors on it. I think I'm just not a big fan of the way I painted that one anymore, but you can see, again, if you happen to have that one, that it is extremely similar in size to the Greenhouse Revolution Studios version. We've also got the PNSO version of the Carcharodontosaurus, and you can see that the Greenhouse Revolution Studios version is much, much larger than PNSO's. And speaking of PNSO, I've chosen to bring in Wilson the Tyrannosaurus to display next to the Carcharodontosaurus as well, because I know that is a very popular model that many people do own. And then one final comparison, we have, again, a model that is very popular right now and continues to grow on me each and every day. We have the Eofauna Tyrannosaurus Rex next to the Carcharodontosaurus for one final comparison. So honestly, this Greenhouse Revolution Studios Carcharodontosaurus release is the total package. Like, when it comes to resin models, it doesn't get better than this, honestly, because there's just so much included. You have those really cool, like, postcard images that they had given us. On top of that, we've also got a really nice keychain that is super high quality. You have an amazing bust of the dinosaur. Again, you have the decision to create your dinosaur with either head sculpt you choose. Whatever the one is that you don't want to use would then go onto the model, and again, you would have the bust version, and then of course the full-bodied version, which is absolutely gorgeous. And you also have that kind of deceased and severed Spinosaur head down there just to add in a little extra flair to the model. But overall, this is easily one of, if not the single best Carcharodontosaurus models I've ever had the pleasure of not only owning but painting up. And it is so much fun to paint this one because the detail is so insanely impressive and so gorgeous as a whole. It is just an absolute blast painting this. And honestly, Greenhouse Revolution Studios models are far and away some of the best out there, and far and away some of the most exciting. Every time I see a new one release, I'm always just so amped to get it in my hands and take a look at it with you guys. Same case for this Carcharodontosaurus. You can see it has an absolutely incredible visual here, a really nice pose, kind of an action pose as the dinosaur's running in, and whether you use the closed, or not really closed, but almost closed mouth, or the wide open mouth, it's going to look great. But I personally am a big fan of the wide open mouth that I've used with this one, and you can see how it just looks so ferocious running in to claim, or maybe it just had killed that Spinosaur down under it. And the addition of that Spinosaur, that severed head, just takes this scene and kind of gives it a really gory look. But personally, my thought process going into this is something else. Maybe a different Carcharodontosaurus had killed that Spinosaur and was feasting on it, and this version has just run in, because I feel like the way it's kind of almost looking like it's charging in to chase something away is my takeaway from the pose and everything. And I really like that, basically telling a story with the model. But as you move through, again, super crisp detail, very impressive. Every ounce of detail is found on this that you would want to see. And again, same deal for that Spinosaurus, especially in the busted up open neck area of it. It is absolutely as gross and awesome as it gets. And the bust, again, is pretty much just the icing on the cake for this, because like I did, you can give it a different coloration and maybe display a male and female, or you can paint them the same. It's really your call, but that is also really nicely done and very high quality. So overall, this is an absolutely amazing release from Greenhouse Revolution Studios, and easily a very high recommendation. So if you want to grab one, I will include a link in the description to where you can do that on Lana Time Shop, because that is exactly where I got mine. So make sure you check that link, go grab this absolutely gorgeous model, and like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.